you could tell me every day for a year that you love my haircut, and I wouldn't care. But if you said to me once, like, hey man, thank you so much for recommending that record to me, I really liked it, I feel like I won a fucking Grammy. I mean, honestly, like, it makes me so proud that I helped someone else find something. You have no idea. I feel like I rescued a dozen dogs. Like, it's like I really feel so good about myself.
Welcome to For the Record, a casual, mostly unedited conversation series presented by Grainmount, where we speak with music heads about their stories and the music that makes them. I'm your host, McKeegan Voice.
Today on episode 51, I chatted with Tiffany Roth and Andrew Raposo, two of the founding members of Midnight Magic. Formed in 2009, Midnight Magic is responsible for some of the most beloved new classics from the disco revival era of the early aughts, including club mainstays like Beam Me Up and Drop Me a Line. Through their collaboration with Brooklyn jazz legend Nick Roseboro, former Charles Bradley and The Extraordinaires drummer Caito Sanchez, saxophone and synthesizer wizard Julio Monterrey, and past members Max Goldman, Andrew Frawley, and Jason Disu, Midnight Magic casts a genre-defying spell on sweaty discotheques and festival stages across the universe. We dove into the backgrounds of both Tiffany and Andrew, as well as the collective story of Midnight Magic, and through it all the great music that helped them take shape and evolve. Hope you enjoy. Without further ado, Andrew, Tiffany, here we are. It's great to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure, really.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, as is the case with all of these, I'd like to start at the beginning and just get a sense of both of your relationships with music and when it began. So perhaps Andrew, if you want to go first and just talk about a little bit about where you're from, when your relationship with music started.
Oh, sure. I'm from New York City. I grew up in a musical family. My grandfather on my father's side was a music school teacher, and my father was a piano player and composer and arranger. And I desperately wanted to play music when I was a kid, and he felt like it would be much better for me to be interested in like baseball and football and want to become a doctor. He's like, I have to do this. You can do anything. Why music? And then at some point, I think I just begged my mom enough to like let me start playing in bands. And like I begged her for like a bass guitar. And that kind of kicked it off for me. First time I like played with anybody, it was utterly terrible. I mean, really just no good. But I sort of got in my head how this is something that I feel like I could do. And one of the few places that I felt like I was kind of in my own, I don't know, not to overuse a Gen Z term, but like in my own skin or whatever. And I had a lot of encouragement from my brother, who's a phenomenal bass player as well. He really inspired me to pick up the bass in general. And I was in my first band when I was 16 and started playing in clubs when I was 16. And it was like the best thing I've ever experienced in my life. No touchdown, no like swish at the 3-point line, no kiss from a girl, no nothing could come close to the feeling I felt playing in a band on stage. And I've been addicted ever since.
Cool. When you think about that, is there one particularly, transcendent moment, when you were 16 at a certain club somewhere, that you still, can recall when you are trying to channel this feeling?
It's not, it wasn't at a gig. It was, I switched high schools and I met this girl who's remained a good friend of mine, who Tiffany knows, my friend Izzy. And she was in this like cool band that like played at bars that like Sonic Youth played at. And I was like, I don't get it. Like, we're kids. How is this even possible? And she's like, oh, no, it's easy. Like, you just go to these places and ask them for like an underage night. And I'm like, okay, you're on some wizard shit that I don't understand. And I went and hung out with them at their band practice space, and I saw like their dynamic as a band, and that inspired me so much to start my own band. And now, like whatever, we're almost 30 years later, I actually am still in a band with like one of the guys from her band. So it's always kind of been a part of me. But that time was really seminal for me, really inspiring. I mean, I could talk endlessly about like shows that I saw or memorable, funny, weird gigs as a high schooler, but it was really like just being around them. First time I walked in their practice space and just being like, wow, okay, this is cool. I want to be doing this.
Cool. What was the name of Izzy's band?
The Laspies.
The Laspies.
Laspees. The Laspies. That is a deep cut for all
What
the
is that?
Upper West Side private school kids.
What does that mean?
They were just mishmashing words together, and I think one of them just said a phrase. I can't even remember what it was, but like one of them like said like like two words together, and they're like, "Did you just say Laspies?" And they're like, "No, I didn't say that at all." They're like, "Okay, that's the name of the band." It was something stupid like that.
I like Laspies is good.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a good band name.
Yeah, and then was there any particular music in your household growing up that, I know you said your brother had a lot of, sway and influence over like picking up the bass and stuff, but were there, other bassists that you were looking at, or just other music around that, helped to elevate you to, pick up the bass and pursue that path?
Yeah, I think it was actually almost the opposite in a way, because my father was a pretty heavy like classical American songbook guy, and what he did, I just couldn't even fathom doing. Like it looked like an octopus controlling a machine. I being a great piano player to me is still one of the great, like I can play piano a little bit, not that well, and nothing gets me more excited than watching a great piano player play. Like I get it takes me back to being a kid and watching my father like again do this like magic in front of me. So I never thought I never was like, oh, I'm going to be a piano player like my dad. Maybe I did for like 2 seconds, but I really thought, well, if I can't do that, but I like music, what is left for me? And my brother was the one that was like, well, there's this thing called rock and roll you might want to check out. And then I got in, I was a kid in the, Tiffany had a similar experience growing up too. Like we were very lucky to be coming of age at a time where a lot of underground music became very popular and was like on the radio. And I discovered punk rock and grunge just like everybody else did. And it completely changed my shit. And I was like, well, I can't play a Bach piece at the piano, but I can play a Green Day song. So let's try that. And I think that's more, I think it was more like I can't do what he does. Let me do something dumber that got me to where I am now.
Oh, I love that line. That's amazing. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Cool. Over to you, Tiffany. Would love to hear about your background, your story, where you're from, and when your relationship with music started.
I'm from Los Angeles, which is where I am now. I'm back.
She's back.
We grew up in a really musical family because my grandfather and my grandmother on my mom's side studied opera, and they met while studying opera in Italy. And so they moved to California during World War II and started teaching, giving vocal lessons, and they had 10 kids. My mom was one of their students, and anybody else who could carry a tune, we were forced. Because when you're a teenager, you're like, I don't want to. That's not cool to learn opera, And so I was a stupid kid, but yeah. So I started taking lessons with my grandfather. My sister did. A lot of my cousins, aunts, uncles, anybody who could carry a tune. And so really started with that. We'd always be at my grandfather's house. And, just hearing people get lessons, waiting for our lessons. So yeah, it started at a really young age. And then that kind of turned into being shy about performing because we had to give these recitals. All of the students, all the pupils of my grandfather, because my grandmother passed away when I was pretty young, all had to play. We had learned from my grandfather. He had a lot of students. And so at a really young age, I became very self-conscious of performing in front of people. And so I got kind of comedic about it. I don't know. I'm trying to segue into where we're at now with Midnight Magic.
No, but Tiffany, I think
I'm trying to make a segue, but
no, Tiffany, don't segue. He wants the real, true Hollywood story of Tiffany Roth, and I think you got to give it to him.
That's it. That's exactly what I want.
But Tiffany, I think I know where you're about to go, because where you're about to go is something that deeply inspired me as well. So you should talk a little bit about how comedy led you to being in a band, I think.
Please do.
Yeah. Yeah. I started a band with my friend David Leonard called the Come-Ons, where we would kind of improvise, and our friend comes words was as disastrous as it sounds. There were moments. There were definitely moments.
It was great.
Sprinkled in. Yeah.
I saw them. They were awesome. Great band. Like, really great band.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, we were improvising. You know what I mean? It's weird. But when we were playing live, that's the first time that I met Andrew in Los Angeles and Morgan. We were the 3 founding members. And, then they moved back to New York. And shortly after, we're like, you got to come join us, because the musical scene over here it's popping off, as kids say. And then I did. I moved over in 2005 and we started our band.
Cool. Yeah, before we get into Midnight Magic, I'm curious if you were, if there were like transferable skills between like your opera background and the Come-Ons. Like, was this like an operatic band where, with some of the improvisation, was it operatic, or was it kind of a
Definitely
departure
not
from your background, in opera?
It was, no, not even a little bit of opera. That's just kind of the foundation that I came from. But yeah, can you imagine if I was in like an improvisational opera band? Kill me now.
It's kind of mind blowing.
Dreadful. It sounds not fun.
Well, first of all, Tiffany, be careful, because we kind of know bands that do that, and they're going to think we're subtweeting about them. And then 2, secondly, I will say the one thing that I do think relates to what you did in the Come-Ons and what you still do is, like, you really can sing. Like, you can really sing. Like, you really understand the voice really well. And I think, I don't know, most people I've met in bands historically have just like kind of winged it, and then later gone to have their voice trained and worked on their voice and all that. But you kind of came out of the box with that from your background as a kid, which is pretty great, I think, like, and pretty unique for like someone in like a cool indie band,
Thanks, Andrew.
It's true.
I mean, I feel like I will never be that. I don't. Okay, I mean, maybe a little bit. I know a little bit how to sing, a little.
You sure do.
Does that inform? I mean, did that inform like your approach, to music? Do you still trace that back? I asked that as someone who also, for a while I studied opera as well, like opera singing, and that still, kind of forms the foundation of how I think about, music and singing. Like when I play, sometimes, not a lot, but I'm curious if you can still trace that lineage into the music that that you make it all. Do you think about your grandfather or any of the pieces that you were singing at the time? I'm curious if that continues to permeate your musical self at all.
Definitely, for sure. I'm always like, am I disappointing you? I'm also still from how to breathe. All of the technique that I did learn that art onto me is I'm constantly growing from that.
Mm-hmm.
That's will always be a fundamental part of singing for me, for sure. He really, he helped me greatly and I still recall that all the time.
Cool.
But with in regards of like to songwriting now, not so much. I mean, I don't think about opera. I definitely think about like, okay, I can, if I'm recording this now, will I be able to sing this live?
Mm-hmm.
If the band is playing it 20 times faster BPM wise and we're dancing our balls off, sweating profusely, can I actually pull the power from my diaphragm to project this?
Mm-hmm.
Is that work? Or I mean, I think that maybe that's the takeaway from what I've learned,
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. It feels like a wise approach to make sure that that you can do it 20 times as fast while you're sweating and dancing. Yeah.
And drunk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My dog.
Indeed. Okay, cool. So we're at 2005. The gang is gathering in New York to manifest his Midnight Magic. Can you talk a little bit about like the early days of that journey?
Sure. Tiff, I can just set you up a little bit for what you stepped into when you arrived in New York. So I had been in a band with Morgan Wiley. I'd met him out in California around when I met Tiffany as well. And they had been making music. And as she was saying, like he kind of convinced her to come to New York to be a part of this scene that we were playing in then. And our band broke up and we were trying to think about music to make together. And he had already started playing with like these really amazing musicians he had met at the new school. And he invited me into that to see like, oh, what, I could bring to it. And it was really fun and very freeing and very different from the music that we had been making before. And Tiffany got to New York and immediately started working with Morgan on songs and ideas, and then slowly but surely integrating the players from the new school and myself into what they were coming up with. And that was like the first beginnings of the band. And it wasn't dancey per se. It was kind of psychedelic, kind of moody. We had a lot of things buzzing around in our heads, like kind of references that we were going for. I mean, Tiffany, you can, mention yours, but for me, like, Morgan and I were obsessed with, a lot of film score stuff, everything from Bernard Herrmann to Ennio Morricone and Angelo Badalamenti and Goblin and things like that. And we all love like bands like ESG, and we all love, Susie and the Banshees and stuff like that. And so I guess, Tiff, I don't know, would you say we were kind of more like not rock and roll, but it wasn't like funk disco in the beginning?
No. It was more psych and right, like weirdo horror film soundtrack, weirdo stuff.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah. We wanted to be like one of the bands playing in the Red Room in Twin Peaks. Like that was kind of our mood board.
Oh, that's
Gold.
cool. I mean, that's like the ultimate goal. I was actually just up in Scotland with Mark just last week, and we started rewatching Twin Peaks. So it's fresh in mind. That feels like the sort of epitome. A lot of it
still holds up. A lot does. And then you hit some second season nonsense where they both left the show for a while, and it gets a little messy, but it's still great.
It is.
But actually, Tiffany, I'm curious, like what did you think we were like? What did you think we were doing? Like, what were your like vocal touchstones? Like, where did you come from as a singer in those early days?
That's a good question. I think I was so inspired by Grace Jones and of course Shaka Khan. I don't know. It was all over the place. But also I wanted to be a Serbian psych rock. singer. I got really into Zelda Bagcan, the
Oh, fuck
Turkish
yeah.
singer. Child. Do you remember we were all really obsessed with Zelda? And I was like, can I be
Still,
how can I be Zelda? Oh, you and you break up.
Yep.
I'm just gonna. My studio's just not happening today. I'm gonna move upstairs. One second.
No
But
worries.
we can still talk about the Zelda thing. The Zelda thing is like very, very real. I remember
Yeah, the Zelda
being at.
I was, man.
Tiffany, I was
Huge
with you
influence.
at like our Morgan, who co-founded the band, was working at a bar at the time, and he would just take over the like aux chord every night, and he played Yaz Kesetechi Yaz, and I didn't know what it was, and I turned to Tiffany. I was like, "What is this?" She's like, "Oh, this is Zelda. This is amazing," and it like I still to this day when I hear that song, it gives me chills.
So good.
So good.
Cool.
Yeah, one of the best songs.
So did you feel like, like from the outset that you're pulling from these, kind of distinct influences? I mean, did you feel from the outset that you had really melded? At what point did you, or was there a point where you like, sort of felt like, all right, we clicked and we get it, and like this is our brand, this is our energy, this is our vibe?
Actually, for me, it's a great question. For me, it was when we had tried doing this thing for a while as this band, and we had like a couple of people involved who I think were just on very different pages from us. And we were constantly, as any band does in a good way, trying to accommodate like their voice and their style. And I think me and Morgan in particular, and Tiffany for sure, because I think Tiffany was sort of at the end of her wits, like not really like why are we? Tiffany was always sort of asking like okay, this is cool, but like wait, why is there a guitar solo in the middle of this song now? Like we're not interested in any of this. Like why are we doing this? And me and Morgan were like, yeah, I hear that. And Morgan, having known all the guys involved with the project a little bit better, I think we're just very honest. Like I think we're all in different pages with this, and so the band kind of broke up in some ways, and then we ended up reconstituting, very focused with Tiffany and with Carter Yasutake, who's our trumpet player and also keyboard player in the band now. And the four of us would get together and start making music in a much more like refined way for like what our collective vision, the four of us, was. Each person bringing very different things to the table, but definitely more cohesive than before. And I think once we realized that the four of us could create the way that we did, like everything started to fall into place. And like all the early recordings that are in many ways are the ones that like still most people know us by. Like we've been putting out records for a really long time, but everyone knows Beam Me Up. Like Beam Me Up is something that everybody knows. That was like maybe the like 6th or 7th song we ever worked on. Like it wasn't like we had this album worth of stuff and then like one day we struck gold with Beam Me Up. We didn't, to us it was just another song in this weird hopper of cool stuff that we were making. So I sort of see it more as when we at that point, Tiffany, when we sort of like reconstituted, I feel like we really started to get our sea legs for the band.
For sure. We really honed it. Oh, I remember when we really locked down and we were like, we found the name Midnight Magic, because before that we were called Fidelio, which is, the password from Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, yeah.
So stupid.
It's a great name.
But, yeah, we locked it down. We figured out, okay, let's get serious. We we called ourselves Midnight Magic, and then we were really obsessed with do you remember how obsessed with the Shining soundtrack I was?
Oh yeah.
I was listening to Wendy Carlos's the theme where they're driving in through, they're about to get to the hotel. Theme, I forget what it's called. but I made us listen to it in the studio with the lights off. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, I do.
Sure.
Actually, Tiffany, I don't know if you remember this, but it's like it bears a little bit of mention, but like Morgan and Carter and I, kind of in the middle of us getting our new band together, got swept up with this other band that became like pretty successful, and we ended up like touring a lot, and it took us away from our work with Tiffany for like over a year, and
yeah, that sucked.
Which sucked. But honestly, for me, and Tiffany and I talked about this as recently as like literally 3 weeks ago, even though it was like over 15 years ago. For me, it was like, this is an opportunity to be in something that will hopefully bring attention to us. And the main dude in the band actually was just like really excited about our band. And it really seemed like, okay, we're going to do this. And then we're going to like open for our own band on tour. And we're going to like totally get a record deal. Like we really had that. It was, I'm not saying that we were playing fucking 3D chess here, but at no point was I like, oh, whatever, I don't want to be in Midnight Magic anymore. It was like, oh, we can make this work. And it'll be this beautiful, you know, kind of synchronicity between the two projects and whatever. That didn't really work out the way it was supposed to. But at that time, we were getting like endorsements for stuff, and Sequential had just relaunched. It was still being called Dave Smith Instruments then, and Dave Smith gave us a Prophet 08, and we put it in the studio to mess around with the very first day, and Tiffany sat on it playing basically like Wendy Carlos like music for like literally an hour, and we just like recorded the whole thing. It was fucking amazing. And Tiffany was like, this is what I'm talking about, this is what I'm talking about. And it was just like her and Morgan like turning knobs, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. So without that Wendy Carlos jam, there would have been no Beam Me Up, Beam Me Up, no Haagen-Dazs ice cream. All right, folks. Boom.
Oh, I love that. I'm grateful for Beam Me Up for what it's worth. Incredible track.
Oh,
Thank you.
Too sweet. Thank you.
Are there any other Wendy Carlo? Are there any other Wendy Carlos-esque, you know, inflection points over the past couple decades with Midnight Magic where it felt like, you know, like a particular shift or re-solidification, you know, that you can point to?
Andrew?
Well, I mean, Tiffany, you bring so much music into my orbit, all of ours, really. I mean, Tiffany she's going to like totally reject what I'm about to say, but she's a great DJ, and she's one of like the illest like diggers I know. Like she always has had cool records and always hit me to stuff, and like every time, no, it's true. And every time we play together, it's like, what is this? So I think for me, you know, and Morgan too, of course, like, you know, I don't think I would have known who Patrick Crowley was without you, Tiff, or Morgan. But I think like getting into, I think in the early days of Midnight Magic, we were sort of trying to do this more like August Darnell kind of thing. I think we really were like obsessed with that sort of like New York funkiness.
Thank you. That's a great reminder. August Darnell and Patrick Crowley, of course, Rotor. Those were huge. Yeah, those were big turning points for us. Is that inspiration that all that music brought? And
Patrick Adams
for sure.
And we, you know, there was this I think it's called Journey into Paradise. It was this 2 LP compilation that came out in like 0203 of like edits of like classic Larry Levan versions of stuff that he played. And all my friends bought that basically at the same time, and we're all like, oh shit, like we got to figure out a way to like try and do something like this, because we never set out to be a disco band. At no point did we go, you know what would be cool? We're going to start a disco band. That was the furthest thing, honestly, the furthest thing from our mind. Like I've been playing in for years, like a lot of DFA stuff. So I like making dancey music, and I love the idea that like a bunch of punk rock kids could make dance music with synthesizers and drum machines. I was like into that. Like that got me to the table of that idea. of not just making like white people's music or whatever, like getting into black house music and black disco music and black funk and black soul. That's all black in a lot of queer black music, obviously. So my access point to that was like factory record stuff, right? Like, oh, these guys did it, like, you know, or even like the Beastie Boys getting like turning from punk rock into rap music. Like, oh, we could do this if we're cool about it and we make good music. But at no point were we saying to ourselves like, oh, let's make disco. But I don't think we would have even gotten to where we got with Beam Me Up had we not been obsessed with like those Loyola Levon edits of those classic disco songs. And Tiffany had all that stuff before anybody I knew. Tiffany knew who like Bernard Edwards was. I'm a bass player. I didn't know who Bernard Edwards was until I met Tiffany. Like, she was like, oh, you got to check this dude out. I'm like, what is happening? This is the best shit I've ever heard.
Cool.
I think really getting obsessed with the walking bass line.
Sure.
And just being like, Andrew, how do you feel about maybe giving that a go? What would that sound like?
Yeah.
And then writing around that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, that's a big moment for us in Drop Me a Line, another song that we wrote really early on, one of the first ever, right? Top
yeah,
6.
That was like within the first 10 sessions for sure. Like, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And there's this breakdown in the song of Drop Me a Line where the walking bass line comes in, and we still play that live the same way. And I still love it. I don't
Me too.
Not love that walking bass line.
Yeah. I mean,
you can hear our influences, all that disco, all the funk, soul, all that. You definitely hear it. It's all over it, right?
You know, I was really like a jukebox for bass ideas for Morgan and Tiffany because I didn't really know what to do when we first started recording. My references were not nearly as, you know, quite literally articulate. Like the idea of like a fast arpeggiation and octave disco bass line, that was not at all something that I was thinking. I was thinking much more like very rooted on the root, like more bootsy, more ESG, like that kind of thing, more coming from punk and like funk music. But like the simplest idea of like, you know, the one, like, you know, Bootsy's whole thing about the one, like as long as you hit the one, whatever you do between it is fine, but you got to hit the one, you got to hit it right. And I really, not being like at the time, I mean, I think I'm a pretty good bass player now, but back then I don't think I was as good as I am now. And I'm playing with Morgan, who's this amazing piano player who could do all this cool stuff with his left hand on the bass. Like all this cool stuff on the left hand. And I was like, well, shoot, how do we do that? And Tiffany and Morgan would be like, okay, well, try this, try that, try this, try that. And that like really, really got me thinking about playing bass in a very, very different way. And I think what Tiffany's getting to is like that started to inform very much how we were, you know, basing songs around the idea of like these bass lines that moved on the bass guitar a certain way, which is, you know, also kind of what Beam Me Up is. Like that's a fairly simple octave progression, but it works. It works so well. I don't need to change. I need to play more notes. I need to be playing a ton of fills. I play that song now the exact same way I did in the studio 15 years ago. I don't change it. There's no like addition. There's no like, I don't need to do that. It's perfect. It works great the way it is.
Cool.
Thank you for clapping. You can slap the bass. I'm kidding.
I can slap. You want me to slap? I got you. I can slap it for you. Don't worry. I got that.
All right.
Slap on the bass. Cool. I love that how these kind of independent discoveries, you know, brought into, you know, the collective sound. It's sort of, you know, the sum is greater than the parts. You know, and that being as a thing that pushes, you know, into places that you never, you know, saw yourself getting into. Which is a perfect transition actually to part 2 of the conversation, where I ask you a few more specific questions about the music that you listen to, and would love to start by asking you both how you discover music today, and if you could frame that perhaps within the context of, you know, some of your favorite curators or outlets or platforms that you spend time with.
I discover music everywhere. I feel like my ears are open everywhere I go. Whether I'm watching, soundtracks are a huge discovery for me. Still, for old movies and new, I'm constantly Shazamming
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have no shame about being the Shazam person. Just like, hey,
Couldn't.
if they say, I absolutely will be like, what is this? Who is this? Before I bust out my phone and start Shazamming like a crazy person. But yeah, I feel like so many DJs introduce me to brand new things all the time. But it's like, it's endless. It's everywhere I go. A friend's house, someone driving next to me. I'm like, what is that? What are you listening to? Literally everywhere. Andrew, do you have more of like a curated, or can you drop some?
I mean, well, first of all, I'm going to go back to something I said earlier, which is I'm not being funny about it. Like I learn a lot of music from Tiffany and her boyfriend Julio Monterrey, who plays saxophone in our band. A lot of my friends, like I've always felt this way. Like my whole life since I was a kid, I've always thought my friends' music had, they had better taste than me. Like this is how I feel like I learned about cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love it. Oh my God, this is like the most. You could tell me every day for a year that you love my haircut, and I wouldn't care. But if you said to me once, like, "Hey man, thank you so much for recommending that record to me. I really liked it," I feel like I won a fucking Grammy. I mean, honestly, like it makes me so proud that I helped someone else find something. You have no idea. I feel like I rescued a dozen dogs. It's like I really feel so good about myself. But I learn a lot from DJs. Like there's so many great DJs in my life. It's just crazy. And in New York right now, there's a whole like young crop of like New York, like younger crop of DJs that have been coming up. I mean, not so young now. I mean, they've been really setting the tone now for like even the next generation coming in. But like, I'm really good friends with, and I work a lot with, friend of the band, Justin Strauss, who's been this, amazing, legendary DJ in New York. Every time I go to see Justin play, I do. Tiffany's right. I'll be like, "Hey man," I was like, "Yo man, what is this? What is this?" And he'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, I'll send it to you." I was going to.
Too. It'll be like, "Oh yeah, remix I did for this band," and
yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
So good.
And then this dude, James Morey, actually, great DJ in New York. I was at a set of his recently with friends, and every 5 seconds, that everyone I was with kept asking, like, "Hey, could you ask the DJ what it is?" And he sent me his entire like ID list from the night, because he saves them in record box. And he just sent me the whole. He's like, "Dude, just here it is. This is what I played, so you don't have to ask me again."
Just read it.
But yeah, and
J. Crib too. Everything that J. Crib.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who the fuck is this? Where did this come from? This is amazing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I spoke to Jason 2 days ago, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we're getting a shipment of new records for the shop. A lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool selects." And I told him, "Dude, all the vinyl that I play now, like all of it, is new from your new finds bin in your record shop in Razor and Tape. All of it. It's amazing."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that.
And I will say, and Tiffany, I'm sure you've encountered this too. Like, I'm kind of blown away by how generous, like all the younger DJs are. Like, if you ask them what it is, they'll like send it to you. Like, they don't.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot more gatekeeping, like a lot more like, "Oh, this is in my bag. Like, I don't want the other DJ to know what I have." Now it's like not even a thing.
I couldn't believe that. I mean, that was such like a. But I think in the early days of vinyl DJs, buying and finding the records that they found was such like a, I don't know, a journey or something for them. So weird about sharing. They put a fucking white label over the, so that nobody could peek and see what they're playing. It's so crazy. I think we definitely come from the opposite of that. I love sharing music. I love when other people want to share their music too. I mean, like that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I was at there's this really cool club by my apartment, like in Bushwick, called Holo. And my friends know that I live close by, and so they'll text me like, "Hey, we're DJing here on Friday night. You have no excuse. You're like a 7-minute walk, so you need to come through." and I went to go see our friend Cesar Toribio, or like Conclave, regardless of what name he's using, his real name Cesar Toribio, and he played like the illest thing I'd ever heard in my life, and I was almost scared to ask him because I was like, "There's no way he's gonna want to share this with me. This is clearly like some crazy find of his that is like a fucking crown jewel in his set." And he like texted me like 2 minutes later, like, "Oh, it's this. It's awesome. You should play it."
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That actually reminded me. I was at Hollow once for a Groovy show. You know, Groovy
Sure.
Groovy?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was Groovy. Anyways, I was seeing Antennas. Do you know Antennas?
Sure. Yeah.
And she played this track. And she and I have had quite a few conversations at this point, and she's always been like really forthcoming with the music that she plays. But there was one track that she played where I was just like, oh my God, what is this thing that you just gave to us? And she would only tell me if I promised, like, you know, pinky swear level type promise that I would never tell anybody, because she's like, I've never come across anybody else who knew this thing. It's like my special track. I use it like only for specific moments. So I can't tell you actually what it is, but that's like the only instance.
Terrible story.
Sorry. It was just the context, you know, set it up for that. But it's yeah, sorry, I feel terrible that I brought this up and said that I'm not even sharing what the music is. And tennis is great though.
Yeah, for sure. But we're gonna shake you, dude. We're gonna shake you down for that track.
You can't build us up like
okay.
Nothing.
Fine. Yeah. I've brought this on myself. Sorry. I'll talk to Antenna, see if I can get permission.
It's okay. I get it. I understand. She's got a thing. She has a special song. She has to, you know. Yeah.
I want to reiterate that she's always been forthcoming with all of the other tracks, though. So it's not.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes the secret sauce needs to remain the secret sauce. I get that. I respect it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anyways, you know, for people listening, perhaps that song will be shared. You know, stay tuned.
I like that we started with you saying I can't share it to you saying okay, I'll drop it in like the comments.
Yeah. Well, maybe let's see. There's a chance, because I feel terrible now that I've brought this up like in the context of like free sharing. We should share everything to like no, I'm not even going to share this thing with you.
No, don't feel bad. It's not yours to share.
That's
exactly.
the thing. If it were, I would happily disclose, but it's not
right.
Nothing.
No, you know, you have to respect her. You have to respect her wishes, and I respect them too.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Okay, fine. So my next question for you both is what is the first album that you ever purchased, and what is the most recent?
Whoa.
Ooh.
I can tell first
do you know?
I ever got. I didn't get an album. I can't remember the first album I got. I think the first album that I had that I stole from my sister on tape was Depeche Mode Violator. Sorry, I'm having a dog issue.
What? Oh yeah, by the way, we've both been dealing with dog issues this entire interview, so the fact that it's not been more of a thing means that we're doing great.
I haven't even noticed.
Oh really?
No.
Oh my God.
Have you heard barking?
We haven't heard your dog barking, but my dog has just been harassing me this entire interview.
What's been inconspicuous harassment?
Yeah, she knows. She knows where her bread is buttered.
But yeah, no, I think the first album that I stole from my sister on tape was Depeche Mode Violator. But the first single, God, this makes me sound fucking ancient, which I am, was TLC's Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Great answer.
Anybody remember this? Am I the only one that remember?
I Ain't Too Proud to Beg, of course.
I remember.
Top tune. I actually, Tiffany, I have the 12-inch that I found, original pressing of Let's Talk About Sex, which
Wow.
that has a really great remix on it. And this, I played it at Public Records, and this like kid, I think he was like 22, 23, came up to me. He's like, "Yo, what is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's
What? Johnny.
I was like, I was like, Salt and Pepper, Let's Talk About Sex. And he was like, yeah, let me write that down.
Cool.
That made me feel ancient, as Tiffany said. My first cassette, my first thing I remember buying with like allowance or whatever, it must have been allowance or something, was really cool record, a bit of a deep cut, kind of underground. I don't know if you guys are going to know it, but it's a band called Pink Floyd, and the album is called Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, if you want to write that down, let me know. I know it's hard. Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like kind of like a rare. It's like kind of like a like underground thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, deep cut. And that album still rips, by the way, and I will defend that band till the day I die. And then the most recent thing, actually, Tiffany, what's the most recent thing you bought?
Lolise. Lolise's
Oh,
album.
nice. Great.
Highly recommend. Lolise. It's
really good.
Okay,
beautiful.
cool.
Was just released, I want to say last month.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. This is our friend. She's originally from Botswana, and she makes music with her partner. And wow, they're playing all over New York, and they're blowing up now. And
they're one.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're like one of the best live bands in New York right now. Like they're unbelievable. They're unbelievable.
Cool.
Yeah. Actually, the most recent album that I bought, technically speaking, Tiffany, was also a friend's record, which is Tyler Pope, who used to be in Chick Chick Chicken Out Hood and is the bass player for LCD Sound System. He has this like label and project for a long time called Interference Pattern, and he just made his first album. And I like everything that he's done before, but some of it is like not kind of my thing. Some of it can be like pretty abrasive in a way that like I just don't really get down with so much. But this new album is of his, like he just put out literally, I think he came out a week ago, is really good. And that's the most, I bought that off Bandcamp.
And it's under Tyler Pope?
It's under Interference Pattern.
Interference Pattern.
Yeah, and it's really good. Like, yeah, I'm really into it. But yeah, those are two friends. I wish I could say like, oh, I bought some like big pop, like the Chapel Roan. But I didn't. I don't know. I don't know. We don't want to seem like snobs, but we're throwing deep cuts at your interview. Deep cuts.
But that's okay. I mean, that's what we want. This is sort of one of my own selfish interests in it's not like a cause of this, but one of the byproducts, of this podcast and doing this podcast with music heads is that I get to discover all this amazing music.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the deep cuts, that is to say.
I just made a discovery. Oh God, I forget the record label that just re-released this woman. Her name is Kate Fagan, Fagan, and she's kind of a post-punk, really fun, ironic, great stuff. I mean, the music is all the songs are bops. Highly recommend Kate Fagan.
Kate Fagan.
Wait, Tiff, did you play her for me when we were in Miami? And you asked me if I'd. Oh no.
What did it sound like? What did I play for you?
There was like this girl punk rock, like kind of older sounding girl punk rock band that you were like, oh, do you get down with this band? And I didn't know who they were, but they were really good.
Huh.
Do you remember? You played them for me off your phone.
I don't remember.
Yeah. All right. I could have hallucinated it.
No, that sounds right.
But it's Kate Fagan. Is she like an older artist that got reissued or something?
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. This is released in the early 80s. She has like 2 EPs or 1 EP, and then they re-released more tracks, and yeah, it's good stuff. Check it out. I think it's everywhere. I think it's like Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah. Another band, I don't remember the name of it. Another like post-punk band. But yeah, check out Kate Fagan's.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Done. Okay, my next question for you both. Who are 3 artists of note that you have heard for the first time in the past year? They don't have to be new artists, just new to you.
New to me. Wow, good question. Tiffany, you want to go first on that?
Yeah. Okay. There's this Italo band that I came across. Again, older. Tick and Talk. Tik and Tok. There's some really cool, weirdo, but danceable, really fun stuff.
Cool.
Check them out. Check out Tick and Talk. That's one band that comes to mind. Andrew? I'm still thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he's not like a new artist, I think, but he was new to me in the last year. And like, this is where like, I say things in front of DJs sometimes and they're like, dude, you don't know anybody or anything. Like you literally, what is wrong with you? Like, I'll be like, hey, you know who's good? Todd Terje. You guys know that guy? Not literally, but literally. It's this dude, Jexopolis. Do you fuck with that guy? Jexopolis. Do you know his stuff?
I know of
Him.
of Jexopolis, but I haven't listened to much.
A lot of the stuff that he has been coming out with in the last like couple of years has been like super, super cool. Like very, very cool. And then I'm just trying to think like where else. I might have to go to get a cheat sheet here. Let me see who I added on.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm totally on a playlist right now. Okay, there's an artist, another kind of 80s-ish. I want to say they're either German or Austrian, and the artist is Angela Werner or Werner, WRNER. And yeah, there's this one song. I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I will butcher it. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Aus und vorbei. I don't know how you say it. AUS, UND, second word, third word, VORBEI. Such a good song.
Cool. Well, I think you nailed the pronunciation as well. Sounds to me.
I tried. I discovered her. I can't find anything else from her. I can't find anything like any other music, but this one song, and it's so good. It hits.
Wow. Cool.
Well, okay, I got that. All right, Tiffany. All right, I got my cheat sheet now. I'm ready to go. Let's play. I got my girlfriend actually put on in the car. She was like going through one of her playlists, and the artist's name is Oro, ORO. And this name of the song is called Stop the War. And the album is called Napoli Segreta is the name of the album. But that is like, I'm working on a edit of it. Like, I'm talking about making an edit of it. That's me working on it. But at some point, actually, we'll do it. Just to speed it up a little bit, just to like throw in a set because it's like a very low volume master. And it's like an older recording. And it's just, but I'm obsessed with it. It's like one of the coolest songs. It's called Stop the War. The name of the artist is Oro, ORO.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
All right, Tiffany, one more.
I have one more. This song I discovered this year, and I'm obsessed with it. I'm still obsessed with it. It's called Suicide Commando. That's the name of the song. And the band's No More. I'm not really familiar with anything else they've done. That's the banger. It's like 140 BPM. It's impossible to play out, but it's so good. It's so
cool. Is that No More like NO or KNOW?
Yeah, No More like NO. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
You have to listen to Suicide Commando. You're gonna be flipping your shit.
I can't wait.
I'm excited to check that out, Tiffany. Amazing. Thank you. See what I told you? I learned about a lot of jams from this person. I'm not making that up.
Me too.
What are you listening to?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I hate when it gets turned around on me.
Sorry. Well, okay, then just one song. You know, just one.
Let's see. I'm gonna cheat for sure. Oh no, that doesn't count. Okay, I'm gonna use this even though it's kind of cheating because I technically heard about this person back in like 2017, but it was, you know, like a pitch. I was writing for Vice at the time, and it was a pitch for this like accordion player that I thought was amazing. No one else really cared about, unfortunately. But I pitched it, and so I heard it technically at that point. And then I remembered it recently and went back. It's like, oh yeah, that music was incredible. Why haven't I, have I never gone back and returned to that music? So I went, into Spotify, I went back into my emails and I looked this person up to find out, what their name was, went into Spotify. And ever since then, I've listened to him a ton. His name is Mario Batkovich. And he's an accordion player. That's, it's definitely experimental, but it's incredible. And it's got such a good energy to it. And he's collaborated with some pretty cool folks.
Is that with an A, Batkovich?
Batkovic is the last name.
Cool. B-A-T-K.
Yeah, there's a couple albums. The eponymous record that he did, Mario Batkovich, is one of them. And then the other one is called Introspectio. Oh yeah, he worked with like Colin Stetson, if you know him.
Yeah, wait a second. I've heard of this guy. Yeah, Mario Batkovich. Yeah, I've totally heard. He's like a new guy.
Yeah, I mean I feel like he's starting to make some more waves, based on who he's been collaborating with. Like Colin Stetson is like a saxophone player, virtuoso, who can do like inward breathing and like, or what do I call it? Inward breathing?
Circular breathing?
Yeah, sorry, circular breathing. Inward breathing is the name of the Tenacious D song, where Jack realizes that he can that he never has to stop singing because it's called inward singing. That's what it's called.
Inward singing.
But yeah, Colin
I actually remember. He was like, "If I do this, I don't think I do this."
Yeah.
Funny. I remember that.
Oh man, that record's amazing. Actually, I recently started listening to that again, which I would recommend if it's been a while for anybody. But yeah, where were we again, Andrew? I think you had one more, right?
Oh, I did have one more. Well, I got this. I don't know if this really counts, but I got this really great compilation thanks to Razor and Tape. Actually, I was like over there one day and like just chatting with Kriv, and he was like, "Do you have this yet?" And I said no, and it's called Synthesis Moderna, it's Synthesis Moderna, an alternative vision of Argentinian music, and it's like Argentine, like new wave basically, and yeah, it's awesome. It's like everything on it rips, like no skips, as they say. But there's this song Tiffany's heard me play it out a ton, called "Ain't That Better," and the original artist is Toby, but the version I've been playing is the Harari edit. And it's just the whole song is 808 and 303, and like this super cheap like Korg MS piano sound, and just these guys talking in gibberish English and Spanish the entire time, and it is like I can't handle how good it is. Like I think it's like the best thing I've ever heard in my life. So yeah, Toby, "Ain't That Better," Harari edit. That's my last rec.
Amazing.
Cool.
Okay, now here's the big question for you both. You're going to a deserted island, and you get to bring three records with you.
I'm ending this now. Nice to meet you guys.
Sorry, I know it's an evil question.
Are these CDs, records, tapes.
People have been known to get creative with the answers in ways that are most advantageous for their situation, being on on a deserted island. Like which ones hold most information. People have taken like 4-disc compilation sets and things like that.
That's
Right.
cheating.
Yeah,
That's
well,
cheating.
it's kind of pushing the bounds of the rules, but they're all fake anyways. So
I don't know about okay, one album that I will never ever get sick of, and I can go years without listening to it, but when I put it on again, I'm still love it. Is The Cure, "Standing on the Beach"?
Oh,
You
so good.
The compilation of all their, I think it's supposed to be their B-sides. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, you're right.
It's just so good. I can never not love that album. It's so good. That's one for me.
cool.
Andrew?
I would say, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't put at the top probably one of the Aphex Twin ambient works records.
Nice.
Like probably volume 2, if I'm honest. Yeah, I never get tired of listening to that. If it comes on whenever I'm with anybody, it just like brings me back to the first time I heard it. Yeah, anyway, so it's just a very beautiful, like hauntingly beautiful album for me at any age. I would say, oh, you want to go? Actually, yeah, we can go 1-1-1. Tiffany, what's your second pick?
Shit. Fucked. Oh my god. How about oh Jesus Christ. There's so many people that are popping up in my head. So many artists are popping up in my head. It's so hard to be I'm like, no, but
Yeah.
First thought, best thought, Tiffany. First thought, best thought.
Yeah.
okay. Probably Depeche Mode. But which album? There's just so many.
Wait, what's their like greatest hits? Just choose that.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, the one, yeah, it's got the white border and the picture in the middle. Fuck, what is that called? Sure, best of Depeche Mode.
Okay.
I think it's called is it called like the singles or something? Like Depeche Mode, the singles? Or that's the other one, I think. There are 2 of them.
There's just
I would say they're okay. Fuck, this is really it's really, really hard. So, all right, I'm gonna go first thought, best thought. Portishead live at Roseland Ballroom 1996.
Oh, great record. I love that record.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
That's great. There are a couple moments where Beth Gibbons on that album just like goes to another planet.
Yeah.
My friends were at that show.
Oh, cool.
But
my cool friends that I started the interview with, my fucking friend Izzy, she was there. See?
Well done.
Cool stuff.
That's cool. The Laspies.
Yeah, hell yeah, the Laspies. All right, Tiffany, you're up.
God dang it. Okay, there's this one record I have, and it's a compilation of all of like the best early kind of funk R&B. It has Sylvia Striplin, Can't Turn Love Away. It has Phase O, Riding High. It has William Devon, that song about Diamond in the Back, Sunroof Top.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Fendi.
Yeah.
The dog just made an appearance.
There's a song by Ramp. You know that band Ramp? They were a funk band. They have a really good song. Like all the hits of all of that, like really early funk. It has Denise Williams. It has Patrice. No, yeah, Denise Williams and who's that genius woman who wrote send me forget me nots.
Oh yeah.
Tell me to remember. Patrice Rushen.
Patrice Rushen. That's right.
So it's a heavy hitters like best of, and I can't get sick of it. It's so good.
Sounds like a great
Really?
collection.
Oh yeah, it's such a good record. All right, Andrew.
I keep hoping that by the time it gets to me that you guys will forget that I have one more, but it hasn't happened yet. So, okay. Oh. Okay. There are really two in the number two. There are really two in pole position for my third pick, which is like really just the like bracket that I can get even close to this answering this question. I just want to say, since there are no rules, that I was like, I should put a can record on there. But I feel like I'm a little top loaded with like spooky. So I need someone to kind of break up anything that's like a little. I need a little bit of a break from the darkness. So I'm going to go with King Sunny Ade.
Oh, nice.
Juju music from 1982. That's what I'm going to say.
That's a good one. Hey, good job.
Boom.
Good job.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, for Desert Island, for that context, that setting, it sounds like a great record to bring.
For sure. Keep it sunny.
I was actually going to say
you're talking
Weezer, Blue Album. Weezer, Green Album. Weezer, whatever the third album's called.
That would have been a great answer too.
It's fucking psychotic answer.
Cool. Well, you made it through the gauntlet. Well done.
Yes.
Hi.
At this point, first I want to thank you both, for being on here. I had a lot of fun chatting, and the fun will continue when I get to go listen to all this music that I didn't know yet. So thank you for that. For people who have been listening, who want to get involved, go see Midnight Magic, follow along, what's the best place for them to do that?
Tiff, I'd say probably our Instagram.
For sure.
Right? I think that's the one that we're the most like on top of. And that's Midnight Magic, New York, all one word. So, MIDNIGHT, MAJIC, NY, Midnight Magic New York on Instagram. That's sort of like a good way to keep in touch with us. And also, like, Tiffany and I check messages there regularly. Like, if anyone reaches out, like, one of us usually gets, Tiffany's better than I am, but one of us will, like, get back to them. So if anyone is like, oh, what's going on with this? I want to know more about this, they can find us there. And we're playing, I don't know when this is coming out, but we're playing our last show of the year in New York at Public Records on Thursday, November 21st with our friends Talomatic, and we call the party a Talo Magic. We've done one more of these earlier in the year where they DJ and we play live, and the last one was like unbelievably fun. We wanted to do one more before the end of the year, and all those DJs, Facets, Rock One, Andy, are like three of our like favorite DJs in New York, and when they come together, it's magic. So that's our last show in New York of the year.
Cool. Yeah, this should definitely be out before then.
Cool.
And then my last question for you, since you were an answer to this question, now that you've been on For the Record, who is another music head that we should invite onto the show?
I mean,
Strauss.
Tiff, what?
I say Justin Strauss.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's just an incredible human.
Cool.
So talented.
Haven't had Strauss on yet, right?
Not yet, no.
Definitely Strauss. And then if you're doing like bands, these guys, Muscle Cars from New York,
Oh yeah, I know Muscle Cars. They're great.
Brandon and Craig.
Mhm.
I feel like actually that would be a really nice box set, Strauss and them, because Strauss very much represents sort of the early eras of all the cool stuff that led to even things like us and Muscle Cars happening, and then Muscle Cars represents to me what kind of the future of New York nightlife has been or becoming. So yeah, and they're like the nicest guys and are just listen to everything and have like super cool taste in music and aren't just going to throw a ton of like obscure house and techno at you. They're like, you'll like end up talking about, you know, piano concertos for like 25 minutes and then like early Chicago house. Like, anyway, they're great guys.
Okay, cool and noted. I love that. And that's it. That's all we got. Thank you so much again, both, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Seriously, thank
What
you.
a pleasure.
It's been really fun. Thank you.
Agreed. Agreed. Cool. Well, you know, be well.
Yeah, have a
Thank
great.
you too.
You're going somewhere now, right? Aren't you?
Yes, I've got an event I need to run off to, so
Yeah.
Go.
I'm on my
Hey,
way
All right.
there. Okay.
Event away. Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Take care, both. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for being here. That is a wrap on another episode of For the Record, a conversation series with all manner of music heads about their stories and the music that makes them. It's a production of Grey Matter and the new Crate Coalition experiment in building connective listening graphs. We stamp every music mention that you heard here, from the names of musicians to DJs to journalists to venue owners. And in the background, we're mapping these names to form those yet unseen connective threads between. Want to get involved? Check out our website, greymatter.fm. It's gray with an E. Or you can come hang out in the Crate Coalition Discord. We'll see you next time.